Imagine yourself getting blamed for an entire world war, losing 13% of your territory, having your military reduced to basically a school security guard, forced to pay 132 billion gold marks in reparations, which is about $500 billion today, getting your economy destroyed, and then having the entire world treat you like the villain for the next decade. Now imagine some rejected art school student shows up and says, "I can fix this." Yeah, that's how World War II started. Let me explain. So, after World War I ends, Germany's economy goes into free fall. By the 1920s, hyperinflation hit so hard that people were carrying wheelbarrows full of cash just to buy bread. A loaf of bread that cost 250 marks in January 1923 cost 200 billion marks by November. Money became so worthless that people literally used it as wallpaper and kindling for fires. The German government was weak, constantly changing, and couldn't fix anything. Meanwhile, millions of Germans were unemployed, starving, and watching their life savings become worthless overnight. The whole country felt humiliated and betrayed. This is when the guy who shall not be named saw his opportunity. He was a failed artist who got rejected from art school twice, fought in WW1, and decided politics was his backup career. He joined a tiny political party, took it over, and started giving speeches blaming everyone else for Germany's problems. The treaty, the politicians, certain groups of people, basically anyone but Germans themselves. And it worked. When you're desperate and angry, someone promising simple solutions and national pride sounds pretty good. By 1933, he became Chancellor of Germany. Democracy was about to have a very bad decade.
The guy who shall not be named takes power in 1933 and immediately starts doing the exact opposite of what the Treaty of Versailles said. Remember that whole no military thing? Yeah, he ignored that completely. He started rebuilding the German army, created an air force, built tanks, and basically turned Germany back into a military powerhouse. And here's the wild part. Nobody stopped him. Britain and France just watched and went, maybe if we let him have a little bit, he'll calm down. This is called appeasement, which is a fancy word for being too scared to do anything and hoping the problem goes away on its own. Spoiler, it didn't. In 1936, Germany marched troops into the Rhineland, a demilitarized zone they weren't supposed to touch. Britain and France complained, but did nothing. In 1938, Germany annexed Austria. Again, some angry letters, but no action. Then he demanded a chunk of Czechoslovakia called the Sudetenland, claiming it had German-speaking people, so it should belong to Germany. Britain's Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain flew to Munich, had a meeting, and literally gave the guy what he wanted. Then came back waving a paper saying, "Peace for our time." That aged like milk in the sun. 6 months later, Germany took the rest of Czechoslovakia anyway. By 1939, everyone realized appeasement was just letting a guy with expansion plans do whatever he wanted. But it was too late.
September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland using a new strategy called Blitzkrieg, which is German for lightning war. Basically, send in planes first, then tanks, then infantry, and move so fast the enemy doesn't have time to react. Poland got conquered in less than a month. Britain and France finally grew a spine and declared war on Germany. But then they just sat there for 8 months. This period is called the Phony War because nothing happened. They declared war and then decided to wait and see what Germany would do next. Brilliant strategy. Germany didn't wait. In April 1940, they invaded Denmark and Norway. In May, they went through Belgium and the Netherlands to attack France. Everyone expected trench warfare like World War I. Instead, Germany went around France's defensive line through a forest everyone thought was impassable with tanks. France surrendered in 6 weeks. 6 weeks! The French army was supposed to be one of the best in the world. Britain evacuated their troops from Dunkirk and prepared to get invaded next. Germany started bombing British cities, but Britain held on. Meanwhile, Germany's ally Italy joined the war, thinking it would be an easy win. Italy immediately started losing in North Africa and needed Germany to bail them out. Then, in June 1941, the guy who shall not be named made possibly the dumbest decision in military history. He invaded the Soviet Union in winter, because that worked so well for Napoleon.
While Europe was busy destroying itself, Japan was doing its own thing in Asia. They'd been invading China since 1937 and wanted to expand their empire further. The problem? America didn't like that and cut off Japan's oil supply. For an island nation that needs oil to run its military, that's a big problem. So Japan came up with a plan. Knock out the American Pacific Fleet in one surprise attack, then grab all the oil-rich territories in Southeast Asia before America could recover. On December 7, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, sinking battleships and killing over 2,000 Americans. Japan thought this would scare America into staying out of the war. Instead, it did the opposite. America, who'd been sitting on the sidelines selling weapons but not fighting, was now fully committed to the war. The sleeping giant woke up, and it was furious. Germany, in a moment of absolute genius, decided to declare war on America too. Because when you're already fighting Britain, France, and the Soviet Union, why not add the world's largest industrial power to the list? Now it was officially a world war. Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan, versus the Allies, Britain, Soviet Union, America, and their friends. The Axis had early momentum, but they just picked a fight with countries that had way more people, resources, and factories.
1942 was the year everything started falling apart for the Axis. 3 major battles changed the entire war. First, Stalingrad. Germany pushed deep into the Soviet Union, trying to capture this industrial city. The Soviets decided they weren't giving it up. The battle lasted 5 months in freezing winter conditions. House-to-house fighting, brutal close combat, soldiers freezing to death. The Soviets surrounded the German army and starved them out. Germany lost an entire army, over 300,000 men. It was their first major defeat, and the Eastern Front became a slow, bloody retreat back to Berlin. Second, Midway. Japan's navy was dominating the Pacific until June 1942. At the Battle of Midway, American codebreakers figured out Japan's plan and set up an ambush. Japan lost 4 aircraft carriers in one battle. Their navy never recovered. Suddenly, America was on offense. Third, El Alamein in North Africa. Germany and Italy were trying to push into Egypt to grab Middle Eastern oil. British forces under Montgomery stopped them cold, then pushed them all the way back across North Africa. Italy's colonial dreams were over. By the end of 1943, the Axis powers stopped winning. Germany was retreating in the east, Japan was losing islands in the Pacific, and Italy was about to have a really bad time. July 1943. The Allies invade Sicily, and Italy immediately realizes they're on the losing side. Mussolini gets overthrown, arrested, and Italy surrenders in September. Then they switch teams and join the Allies. Germany's response? Occupy northern Italy and keep fighting. So now Italy's fighting a civil war while also being a battleground for everyone else. Meanwhile, the Soviets are grinding through Eastern Europe like a steamroller. Every month, they're pushing Germany back, recapturing cities and getting closer to Berlin. The Eastern Front is an absolute meat grinder, with millions dying, but the Soviets have more people and they're motivated by revenge. Then comes D-Day, June 6, 1944, the largest amphibious invasion in history. America, Britain, and Canada land 156,000 troops on the beaches of Normandy, France. Germany knew an invasion was coming, but didn't know where. The Allies pulled off the deception, stormed the beaches despite heavy casualties, and established a foothold in Western Europe. Now Germany's fighting a 2-front war, Soviets closing in from the east, Americans and British pushing from the west. Their cities are getting bombed into rubble, resources are running out, and there's no way to win. But they keep fighting anyway. By late 1944, the Allies are liberating France, closing in on Germany's borders, and it's obvious how this ends. By early 1945, Germany is surrounded, running out of supplies and recruiting teenagers to fight. The Soviets are pushing through Poland toward Berlin while the Americans and British cross into Germany from the west. The guy who shall not be named is hiding in a bunker under Berlin, moving around imaginary armies on a map, pretending he can still win. April 1945, Soviet troops enter Berlin, street by street fighting through the ruins. On April 30th, the guy who shall not be named realizes it's over and takes his own life in the bunker. Germany surrenders on May 8th. Europe celebrates. Half the continent is destroyed, but the war there is finally over. Japan, however, refuses to quit. They've lost most of their navy, their cities are being firebombed, and they're clearly beaten. But surrender isn't in their playbook. The Allies are planning an invasion of Japan that would cost millions of lives on both sides. Then, America drops 2 atomic bombs. Hiroshima on August 6th, Nagasaki on August 9th. 2 cities vaporized in seconds. Over 200,000 people dead. Japan surrenders on August 15th, 1945. World War II is over. 6 years of fighting, 80 million people dead, Europe and Asia in ruins, and 2 superpowers left standing, America and the Soviet Union, who really don't like each other. That tension becomes the Cold War, but that's another story.